Good morning and welcome. I think more than half the room is people we know, which is always very nice. But for those that don't know, it's my pleasure to introduce Pankaj. Pankaj and I have known each other almost a decade now. When he was at Cisco, he ran all of product and engineering at Cisco, a big organization. How many people, Pankaj?
About the height of Mount Everest, 29,000 plus.
29,000 people.
Yes,
How many reports out of that? Direct reports?
about dozen plus.
I don't even know how to manage 29 people. So it's having seen and built a company at scale, and as he was thinking about leaving that role, as there was a leadership change in Cisco when John also retired, we had these conversations about how to solve all the all the difficulties he had created in the industry. How does he solve the mess that he was responsible for creating, which is what Nile is? And I know some of the people here probably know the company or know what networking is, but we thought it would be good for him to just share a few slides to get the conversation started, and then we'll just talk about what the future holds. Right?
Absolutely.
So maybe you can start with the slides.
Well, thank you. Thank you for a nice introduction, Sumant. And I'm going to just stand up so I can see everybody. And I'll try to be brief so that we can have more questions and answers. So as someone said, when you have been in an industry I have been in networking for last 33 years. Prior to that, 15 in compute, and I got into networking because I thought compute was getting out of style. Little did I know, it came back with a vengeance. So the things come back. The reason why I really felt passionate about what we are doing at Nile was because this is one area of the industry which had not been disrupted so far. There have been smaller changes, and you saw a bunch of companies in so-called software-defined ABC, but nobody had really thought about the problem from ground up. And for someone like me, who was the head chef for so long, and knowing how the kitchen got messy and how all the recipes got screwed up, it gives me a pretty unique perspective as to what needed to be fixed. So mission is at large to make the networks invisible. And what do I mean by that? We want to make sure that, and this is something that I hear from customers over the years all the time. In healthcare, they will say, we want to provide the best patient care to our customers. Financial institutions want to provide the best advice and do the trading for their clients. They are not in a business to run IT. That's not the main business. So what we do is essentially make it so simple and so automated that it doesn't require anybody to manage or to do anything manually. And that's the reason why we say that this is making networks invisible. The problem, by the way, at large has been, Cisco is more than 40 years old now. And this problem has been created over the decades. The network is synonymous with the word complex. Or networking is synonymous with the word complexity. John Chambers and I used to say that for every dollar customers spent on a gear, they would spend $3 to $5 on operations. It's highly people-intensive business. It got complicated by over a dozen architectures, over 15 to 16 protocols, every protocol having few hundred to over 1,000 knobs. When you multiply all of this with the number of SKUs of all the products and the software releases, you end up in a snowflake at every customer deployment, which becomes impossible to upgrade at the same time, to patch, do anything. And that is the problem that the industry faces today. And that's what we are trying to solve. And so as part of that, and so by the way, this is Gartner says is that somebody like us had to come in who can think outside the box and really provide this as a consumption, as a new business model which really aligns to the business goals. And we'll share about what we mean by that. So a commitment, and the new approach, by the way, to our customers is it's a guaranteed performance or your money back. Nobody does that today. It is AI automation. The company is born in cloud and AI from day one. A lot of people will use the AI, watch their company today, but we are the only one we are only 6-year-old company. So we have the unique advantage to leverage that major market transition from day one. And we fine tune, and actually we do this without reliance on any human being. That is what we do, and I'll come back to it. And by the way, the company is at a high level. What we are trying to do is what AWS, Azure, and GCP did to compute and storage, right? That's what we are doing. Except there is one more place where we are different from them in a positive way. I'll share that at the end. We all hear about security all along, and we are all about the zero trust security. We absolutely operate from the principle that you cannot trust anything or anyone, period. And I'll share a little bit more about that. And George Kurtz, who is on the board of Nile, CEO of CrowdStrike, will tell me that, hey, by the way, the fact that you stop the ransomware attacks from the lateral movement of the traffic, you should advertise that you are ransomware proof, which we are. And we launched that about a couple of months ago.
Let me add to that, just to make it simpler for people. 70-ish% of all of cyber attacks are at the network level. And most of them are because some human has made an error. So that's what I think this company is solving.
Absolutely. And then last but not the least, people always ask you, but show me the money. And so we save, when you look at the total cost of ownership, we save between 40 to 60% when it comes to TCO. And we have shown this time and time again. The market opportunity is huge. Today, what we are addressing is about $150 billion in TAM that will easily grow over $200 billion, because today we are providing and we are disrupting in the first to left side of the circles, which is the access and the edge. As we go more into the WAN side, the TAM will expand dramatically. And by the way, our approach, by the way, has always been very simply to say, first and foremost, you eliminate the problems. The reason why we do that is because in my past experience, over 2/3 of my 29,000 engineers wrote the code, never sees the daylight in any customer. By the way, this should not be a surprise to any one of us. How many of us use every single feature of a car we drive? Not many. Same thing is true in this universe. So we eliminate the things which are absolutely not needed, simplify and automate next, and then we provide for the few things, truly the extra visibility. And this is how we have created this motion with the ruthless automation with the AI software, softboards. And we make sure that every action that we take is going to improve the end user and the device experience. Once again, AI has been designed at every single layer. From infrastructure as a service, we have designed this using the same principles that Microsoft and AWS and Google use for cloud development. Nothing different, which is not the case, by the way, with any of the networking incumbents. Real-time observability with incredible leverage of the data and analytics, and the entire life cycle is essentially SaaSified. It's automated. So when it comes to security, and this is something pretty important that Sumant reminds me all the time, one thing I'll tell you is that it is almost impossible to build a secure network. It's just not humanly possible. One very large financial institution in New York spent over 2 years to build one, and they did. Took a lot of manpower to do it. The minute they made the very first change, it broke, which is very, very usual to do. Okay, and majority of the enterprises have the problem to say, can you trust? Because they always want to trust something or trust a device. And the whole principle is built on the fact that you cannot. You cannot trust anyone and you cannot trust any device, right? This is the reason why it's very hard. And look at all kinds of attack surfaces that you really encounter. By the way, AI abuse is not something unique. It is pretty prevalent in today's universe. But look at IoT devices, ransomware attacks, and more. I mean, one of the big one that had happened in Las Vegas casino a number of years ago was how a technician got in through the fish tank sensor and destroyed the casino for a number of days. That's what happens when you're not really securing it, right? So first and foremost, what we do is we harden the infrastructure. We don't believe in you build a castle, then you build the moat. You have to build security in at every single layer as you build the house, period. Once again, we continuously authenticate and authorize devices and the users. And by the way, we limit the blast radius to 1, meaning any one device or user should not be able to propagate that inside the enterprise. And then, the result is actually pretty awesome. Even though we sign up for the SLAs and we give them the money back if we don't, but today we have been running at 99.99 plus actually. But we have signed up for last year, we signed up for, so we are going to operate, we continuously.
And compare this to existing technologies, Pankaj? What would a Cisco network look like?
Oh, the inside, none of them, all they would offer is, if your hardware fails, then we will provide you the 4-hour replacement. That's their SLA.
It just doesn't exist in the industry.
Exactly, because they can't, honestly. And so what do we do? This is truly the universe of autonomous networking. Think about the universe where there are no IT tickets. You don't have to worry about any software updates, any security patches. You don't have to worry about managing your life cycle. You never have to worry about the end of sale for the software, end of sale for hardware. When the new technologies come up, somebody's going to keep on upgrading you as long as you subscribe to the service. And by the way, somebody's going to make you security proof inside your networking environment. That's what we do. And by the way, we do all of this not only completely automated, but insanely secure. So at the end of the day, this is where we differ from AWS in a sense that, there is a lot of similarity in consumption model, how you use and everything else. The major difference between us and them is that in that universe, you still need some people in the IT to do some work. Whereas in my case, I am a Waymo of networking. You get in the car in streets of San Francisco, you tell it to take you to 1658 Market Street, will take you. You never have to touch anything, you never have to do anything. That's what we do. And that's what we have done actually at number of customers now. So thank you.
And now let's talk about the real stuff.
Yes.
So I think the last time Pankaj was here was 2 years ago, right? So Pankaj, 2 years, you've been in market for about a year and a half selling. What have we learned?
What we learned is not surprisingly, because thankfully when the cloud providers came out, they actually give us good lessons. And what we hear is, and what we learn is that, number one, something new, people are always going to have a resistance. Something disruptive, people have an opinion, and people get whatever. And then people get, when they see that they don't have any control, that scares some people, right?
I have yet to take a Waymo, honestly. So,
Well, I mean, you're not alone. I mean, I have two little grandkids in the streets in San Francisco, and when I walk with them to the playground, and if the Waymo is coming, I stay back like 5 feet. I mean, I never want it. So I know the feeling, right? I mean, we all do that. But I think we are also learning that we are able to make headway into the market. Now we have actually deployed at over 400 deployments. We have more than 100 unique customers in many market segments. And we have done some at scale. Like, the one.
I think we should talk about that.
Yeah, I will in a second. What we learned and what we found is that the security story goes extremely powerful with the customers. And the customers who understand it, who know this, they say, you know what, actually, when I deploy Nile, I'm able to free up and gain the resources that I typically have a tough time to hire, both in IT and security, which is a big plus for them. So that is what we are seeing. We are seeing the adoption in a lot of tier one universities. I mean, some of them like Stanford, Einstein School of Medicine. By the way, we won from one of the tier one university. We got last quarter. We got a double-digit contract. I mean, this early stage company is not easy.
And the reason why I think universities is a good example is that they don't have access to talent, so they have no choice but to automate. And I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean, they told us, by the way, CIO there at Einstein School of Medicine, who is a big champion and supporter, he told his chancellor, he said, I can do the same thing that these guys are doing. It's going to take me so many people, and I will have to buy so many other tools. And even then, it will be porous. It will not be as secure as this. So, proof points like that, they help us a lot.
But tell the audience a little bit about what you just did in Saudi.
Yeah, so we, this 2 weeks ago, February 9th through 12th, there was the largest IT show in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I was there for a day, and this is a giant venue. It makes Moscone look like a cottage, literally, in San Francisco. It's about 2 million square feet, 7 very, very large halls. And we were given the opportunity to do this. So once the cabling was in place, we brought up the entire venue literally in a matter of 3 days with 4 people. And most importantly, 4 days, there was zero either IT or security incident. I mean, and by the way, 200,000 visitors every single day. They were getting 55,000 active clients. So this was a show of a major scale, speed, without simplicity that we have. There was no way for us to be able to deploy something of this size with so few people in such a short time.
So I think to frame it for the audience, what Pankaj is talking about is reducing complexity, but he's also talking about replacing a human workflow with artificial intelligence. And I think if you take one thing away from this entire conference, is that the available market size for AI companies is not replacing old software, it's replacing human workflows, which is 3 to 5 times larger people spend than they spend on the actual device.
Absolutely.
Having said that, when you bring something new into the world, you bring something very disruptive, the hardest thing to change is humans.
It is.
Human behavior is always what doesn't change. Organizational behavior, threat of losing a job, whatever you want to call it, human behavior is hard. So then, Pankaj, what do you think the next 12, 24 months is going to look like, and how do you solve that problem?
So I think one of the things that we are trying to do is to really actually assure them that it's actually freeing up their cycles tremendously. Do you want to keep on mowing your lawn every day? Do you want to do these chores over and over again every single day? Or do you do something much better? Do you want to have access to a much better intelligence, which we provide
Yeah.
for you to be able to do a much better job, then you're able to do that. If something is enabling you to be a hero in your environment, wouldn't you love that? Right? So it's a significant shift in the messaging that we are using with, because it's scary to some people, and it was scary when cloud came first. It was
It
scary
was
to
only for experimentations, POCs. No one ran the production
exactly,
workload.
security problem, blah blah blah, like data shipping out of the building and whatnot, right? Nobody asks that anymore.
You know what? Actually, in my view, inspired cloud adoption was the financial crisis. Because then people did not have a choice but to use the cloud. They didn't have the money for it.
Absolutely.
So you need sometimes you need a crisis for human behavior to change. What Pankaj is talking about also is a business that when people actually sign up for, they sign up for a very long time. So maybe define a little bit about how you engage with a customer, what a normal customer engagement is, how they think, how they analyze the process of deciding, and then how long do they sign up for?
So, because we are still early in our selling cycle, we came out of the stealth mode 2 years ago. So there is a lot of education that we need. We end up going through a few meetings to educate people about your value. And first time they hear about it, they go like, no way, I don't believe it. And they say we must have people behind the scene doing something. And we say, look, we don't. And so there are first few calls like that. But then after that, you engage with them. Typically, the way the engagement goes is that they identify a building or campus or something. And what we would do is we would do a pretty detailed site survey. Because what we offer them is an incredible performance. We tell them that you will be able to do a 4K video quality Zoom call from anywhere in your building, right? It's a pretty tall order. And so when we do that, so we do a pretty detailed site survey. But after that is done, then we do it, our partner does it. That information goes into the tools that we have created automated. It creates the architecture automatically, so there's no human involved there. It creates a bill of material automatically. That bill of material will be fired up because all our hardware is custom. We could not have done this with off-the-shelf white boxes from Taiwan. By the way, all our hardware is built in Taiwan, but it's our own custom hardware because we need control over every single knob inside what we do. And so the equipment will get shipped to the end customer. And to use the example of Saudi Arabia, it is so simple that we have a simple mobile app, and it will, even a high school grad can use that app to really rack and stack and bring up the entire network in a pretty short time. And once it is installed, the day two, I'm talking about, I described the day 0 and day 1. But once it's installed day 2, it's way more. It's completely automated.
You just don't know it. It just exists.
It's the way I tell the people typically is that it's the AI gods in the cloud. So you look at the heaven, that is going to be all right.
So just to give people a sense and size of the scale of the business, do you want to mention range of business you've closed in year 1 and where we think we'll be in a year or 2?
So we came out. We started to sell rather 2 years ago, and so from 0 to we finished a fiscal year end of January, and we closed the business at 57 million in TCV. And the reason why we measure by TCV is because that is the amount of business we took it off the table from Cisco and others. This year, my CFO is conditioning my brain, and he's like, please don't communicate anything larger than this. So, he wants to plan between around 250%. And I tell my team that if we don't grow by 3 times of last year, I would be disappointed. And the opportunities are huge. We have opportunities here in Middle East, in Europe. one major thing that we are doing is we are gaining momentum with very large service providers. We already have relationships with Saudi Telecom, with Vodafone, Liberty Global, and Frontier here. But this year we will operationalize with AT&T, which will be AT&T, Lumen, and Altice in New York City. So I think that will take us to a different place.
So I think we're out of time, but we have one question from the audience for Pankaj. I think we can push it a little bit. Is there anyone who has a question? Or if he's done a great job, that's okay too. Go ahead. Competition.
Competition. So honestly, there are a lot. I mean, there are a lot of people, including my old company, will say that we do that, right? And the reason is because network as a service has been around forever. That theme and terminology has been around forever. However, nobody does what we do, which is the true autonomous networking with autonomous and secure networking that we do can provide the kind of TCO savings and performance guarantee and the new business model nobody else can do. So that's the difference. And by the way, honestly, I believe that the only way somebody can do that is to start from scratch, because you can't take what you have. It's like
it's the instrumentation. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Musk taking a Toyota Corolla and slapping a battery and putting few sensors and say, that wouldn't be Tesla, right? So it's the same thing.
Okay, well, thank you, Pankaj.
Well, thank you, but I also want to thank Sumant for, he has been, by the way, an incredible champion of Nile. And I want to publicly acknowledge, and I know I thank you in private, but publicly acknowledge. And for those of you doing the startups and the startup companies, why Montgomery Summit and the building the relationship here at the summit, and especially with March, is so critical, is that I can tell you that out of $300 million that I raised in last 6 years, over 200 either came from direct investment from March or the introductions that Sumant and Jamie made either at the summit or through their connections, which, by the way, is incredible. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.